Hi guys, welcome to another Road Pilgrim car review. Thank you so much for joining us, and today we have the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid on review. And this is a particularly interesting car, I feel, because it combines the legendary status of the Toyota Corolla brand in an SUV format that is outgoing and active. So it's kind of like got the best of both worlds, right? And incidentally, this is also one of the most fuel efficient cars on the market right now. So I think for those of you who are interested in fuel economy or are conscious about fuel economy, this is definitely a review that you want to stay tuned for. For today's review, we're going to check out the exterior, the interior, and of course we're going to take you for a drive, and we're going to definitely talk about its fuel efficiency. So let's go. Alright, so jumping straight into the review, here's the exterior of the Corolla Cross Hybrid. I think the first impressions are pretty good. The car looks really well made and definitely a lot more stylish than you would expect from a Toyota. And you know, over the last couple of years, I think the design language of Toyotas have definitely improved. And if you remember Toyota cars from the past, they definitely look a lot more utilitarian. This one looks like a lot more effort has been put into the styling, and it's pretty evident because if you look at the front fascia, there are some really nicely sculpted angles on the front bonnet as well, around the lights. The lights are pretty nice actually, the LED headlamps. And then of course you've got a very adequate and appropriate amount of cladding around the wheel hubs, bumpers, side skirts, which I think give the Corolla Cross its outgoing nature. These are 18-inch wheels as standard. Of course you can go larger if you want. I think they look a lot better if you go larger. But of course, one of the main draws of this car is actually fuel economy. So I think that's probably a main consideration point you should have when you decide whether or not to go with larger wheels. This is the rear of the car. I think it looks a lot more simple than the front. I can't say that it looks beautiful, but it definitely doesn't look bad as well. So pretty much a very normal rear end. There you go. So yeah, I think this car is going to appeal to a younger and more contemporary generation who are perhaps really familiar with the Corolla brand from their parents' generation, and now they get a format that is both active and outgoing in the form of an SUV. So I think that's really actually very cool. Let's go jump inside the car and take a look, and then later on we're going to take you for a drive as well. Alright. Okay, so inside the Corolla Cross Hybrid, this is the cabin as you can see, and I feel like first impressions are quite good. If you are familiar with Toyota interiors of the past, you will realize that this is a very clear step up, and this interior is actually way nicer than what you would get in the past. So I think this is a really nice job, but it's also not that surprising because I think with cars like the RAV4 Hybrid and the Harrier, you already started seeing the interiors getting better and better. So I think the Corolla Cross Hybrid's interior is pretty consistent with that. There are, you know, a little bit of styling accents here and there, like with the aircon vents that let you know that the car isn't just about being utilitarian. So to start things off, what you get in front of you, this is a full digital driver's display, and it's actually really nice. It's got nice resolution, and with your multi-function steering wheel, you are able to adjust various menus across the instrument panel, and you've got a lot of economy focused details in the car. So it tells you like your EV driving ratio, your eco score. It lets you know how much charge is in the hybrid battery or in the battery as part of a hybrid system. Of course, you've got your economy ratings. So quite a lot of things that tell you or allow you to really kind of watch what you're doing and to try to achieve the highest fuel economy score as possible. So I think that's really kind of the focus of the instrument panel. In the center console here, you've got nice aircon controls that are quite modern, easy to use, very straightforward. They are dual zoned, so your passenger and yourself do have the ability to adjust the different temperatures. Further down the center console here, you have, let me see, you have USB ports You have seat heaters, which I don't think are very applicable in Singapore. You have a wireless charging pad right here, which you can turn on and off, which is quite nice. Most charging pads that you find in the market, you can't actually turn off. You just put your phone there and charge, or you don't, right? Down in the middle here, you've got your gear shifter, of course, your gear selector. You have some mode selector buttons like your EV mode, although I must say that the car is rather selective in when it allows it to drive solely on EV power. Most of the time it feels like it doesn't really want to, but interestingly right now if I press EV mode it actually works, so that's pretty cool. Traction control, drive mode selector. Oh, and actually with the drive mode selectors, let me show you something cool. Can you see? Yeah, you can see. So when you change the drive modes, you've got a few drive modes, three drive modes. I think it's called power, economy and normal or something, but they actually changed the graphic on the driver's instrument panel, which is really nice. So this is power, you can see, it's pretty cool. Eco and normal. Yeah, so I think these graphics are actually pretty amazing, and they really help to elevate how premium the car feels. Of course, I wouldn't really classify this as a premium car, but it definitely is a step in the right direction. One thing I do have to say though is I am particularly disappointed with the infotainment unit, because I think in this current day and age, an infotainment unit with a higher resolution and better graphics, better interface is probably a point of parity. You can't really go below that. And I'm not sure exactly what the rationale is for Toyota to fit this particular infotainment unit is, but I really do wish they had invested a little bit of time to make this infotainment unit a little bit larger, a little bit better, because this one has a really thick bezel. And if you remember many years ago when Mercedes-Benz had a really thick bezel in the infotainment units, you know, many people call it a knockoff iPad. And I think this is kind of like falling into the same territory. And I also think that this is a really large focal point of the car. So it would have been really nice if this infotainment unit was like a modern, nice one. And if it were, this cabin would look a whole lot better. And it's such a simple shift, right? You just need to change one component and the whole car looks better. So Toyota, if you're listening, please, the next time round, let's have a better infotainment unit. We would really love a better infotainment unit. But on that note, I must also be objective and say that I think Toyota consumers in general, they also like things to be simple and in a way bomb-proof, where they never ever fail you. And if I'm really being honest, in the recent months where I've been testing a lot of new cars and a lot of fancy new infotainment systems, they do have the tendency to glitch and hang a little bit. And I've experienced that quite a lot with other brands and with other newer infotainment units on the market. So perhaps an infotainment unit like that is pretty reliable and will never fail on you, and it gets the job done. I mean, you can still get Apple CarPlay if you plug in your phone, and then of course the interface becomes your Apple CarPlay interface, which then again looks a little bit better than this. So I guess two sides of the coin there, good for you to consider. But personally, I would prefer the hardware to be a little bit better. I guess never mind the interface. The interface can be the same, but I guess the hardware could be a little bit nicer. Yeah? Alright, so with that, let's go jump in the back and let's go check out whether or not the Corolla Cross is practical for real passengers. Alright, so this is the back of the Corolla Cross Hybrid. This seat is in my regular driving position. I am 175 meters tall. I think some of you already know that because you've been watching the review, so you already know. But anyway, I will say it again. I'm 175 meters tall, and this is the amount of legroom that I have. Okay, so it's not a huge amount of legroom, and if I want to sit comfortably like a slouchily, I still have some excess legroom. So definitely not a case where it's like super cramped or anything. Obviously, you can't expect this car to deliver super amounts of legroom. It is after all built on the same platform as a Corolla, so it is still a compact car. And I think if you're carrying 4 passengers, this is actually a pretty comfortable car to be in. You do feel nice and secure. It's not too large that you feel like you're gonna fly about. You actually have cup holders up here, which is nice. I kind of like it. But that's probably because there's no door bins. So cup holder here, you got a tiny bit of like a little holder right here, a handle. There are rear aircon vents for you, although there is no climate control settings. It is just the aircon vent that follows the front settings. In terms of headroom, I have about maybe this amount, so probably about 6 to 7 cm of headroom. But yes, as a pretty large guy, I think I'm still quite comfortable in here. So I think ladies, teenagers, kids will definitely be more than comfortable here. I don't think I would carry 3 passengers in the back in this car. It's just not really built to be that wide. It is still like it's not a super wide car, so I think 4 passengers would be very comfortable in terms of the layout here. Contrary to what Japanese cars used to do, where they used to hide the ISOFIX points like crazy, the Corolla Cross actually has ISOFIX points that are quite accessible. So all you need to do is pull out these little covers and you have access to ISOFIX points. So pretty convenient, and also pretty convenient in terms of installing a car seat, because now you've got very easily accessible ISOFIX points. I think the car should have enough space to carry rearward facing car seats quite comfortably, but if you're talking about toddler car seats or booster seats, definitely no problem at all. So that's the interior, and that's the cabin of the Corolla Cross Hybrid. Let's go take a drive in the car and see how it performs. Okay, so up on the roads with the Corolla Cross Hybrid right now, and to get things started, this Corolla Cross Hybrid runs a 2-liter hybrid engine, and this is running on an eCVT transmission. And this is actually going to be quite surprising, but in this setup, the Corolla Cross Hybrid actually packs about 196 brake horsepower, and this is the combined power from the 2-liter engine and the electric motors in the hybrid system as well. So pretty impressive horsepower figures. This car is good for about just above 200 Newton meters of torque, so not the most torquey car, but that's probably due to the CVT transmission. And the biggest surprise is that 0 to 100, if you really want to push this car, it will do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.7 seconds, which is actually really impressive, especially because I don't think anybody really expects a civilian car like this to do that kind of to produce that kind of performance. And I guess there is still a little bit of that impression that, you know, Toyotas aren't the fastest cars around, but you know what, this one, you know, 7.7 seconds is not groundbreaking by any means, but it really is, I think, a step up from Toyotas of the past, where they were just a little bit uninspiring to drive. I think over the last couple of years, the range of Toyota cars have definitely improved, not just in terms of styling, like I showed you earlier, but also in terms of the way they drive. You know, they are getting a little bit more fun to drive, and they handle a lot better as well. So yeah, so those are the performance figures. I think the first thing that you probably think about when you're shopping for a self-charging hybrid, as Toyota calls it, is of course fuel economy. I think that's really the main draw of buying a car like that. Now, Toyota states that the Corolla Cross Hybrid will do about 18.8 kilometers per liter, and I think that's just probably what they got from the factory as well in terms of the economy figures. But truth is, some time ago we actually did a round Singapore fuel economy test in this car, and we managed to clock at some points about 28 kilometers per liter, which is 10 kilometers per liter more than what it is stated. So I think Toyota are just being really conservative here with the economy figures. In reality, it is actually much better. Of course, this being a test car after being used for some time now, many different drivers, many different driving styles, the economy figure here is 18.1 kilometers per liter, which is still pretty damn impressive if you think about the fact that most test drive cars probably fall a lot further from their listed economy figure than the Corolla Cross Hybrid, because they claim it's 18.8, and even after being driven a little bit harder, driven by many different driving styles, both good and bad, both heavy-footed and light-footed, the car still ends up with 18.1 kilometers per liter, which is super close to its listed range. Now, which brings me to my next point as well, which is that I think one thing that's really nice about Toyota hybrids is, of course, the fact that they've been refined over so many years, right? Since the very first Prius hybrid came out, and that was almost 20 years ago, and all the way till today, I'm sure the system has been refined over and over again. So it's really gotten to the point where, first and foremost, when you are driving around, of course, the electric assistance from the electric motor will cut in and out intermittently depending on when the car feels like it requires that support or when it can optimize its fuel economy. And when the engine cuts in and out, the transition is actually extremely seamless. You don't even realize that it has done so. Of course, if you really pay attention, you can hear the rumble of the engine a little bit. But you know, if you got your music up a little bit louder and you are talking to your friends or you're talking to people in the car, you are likely not even gonna notice that the engine has cut in again. So I think that's really cool. And I think whatever you say at this current point in time, Toyota definitely have one of the best hybrid systems on the market in terms of economy and in terms of the way it cuts in and out and supports the car on your drive. There's also another point I want to make about the fuel economy, which is that with Toyota hybrid systems, what I've kind of discovered is that they are actually not super driver sensitive, and I think that's very evident in what I've just explained as well, because despite this being a test car and being run by so many different people and so many different driving styles, this car is still clocking very close to what its listed fuel economy figures are. And I mean, if you guys have been driving, you guys would know most of the time when manufacturers list the fuel economy figure, that's like super calculated, you know, like there is like almost no way that we regular people can achieve that figure on a regular road. Being a CVT, you still get a little bit of CVT drone when you really put your foot down, but I think that's, you know, probably something that is expected from any car that runs a CVT transmission. But I digress. Back to my earlier point. So despite being tested by so many different people with so many different driving styles, this car clocks a very good fuel economy figure. So what that really means, and I feel like what it translates to, is that it's really not very sensitive in terms of the driving style or who drives it. Whatever Toyota has claimed, you can be quite comfortable, or you can be quite assured that whatever your driving style is, you're probably not going to fall too far from the ballpark. So if you're extremely heavy-footed, then I guess you'll probably get a fuel economy that's quite similar to 18, which is sort of the baseline already. But if you put in some effort to drive the car economically, then I think you could probably achieve an economy figure that's closer to what we got when we tested the car and we tried to push the car, around Singapore. which is about 28, and I guess anywhere that you fall in between, if you're getting 23, 24, 25, that's already an excellent fuel economy figure. So it's pretty cool that a car like that is capable of doing so. There's actually a lot of things to say about the Corolla Cross Hybrid actually, because when we did the testing as well, we actually clocked about 1,050 kilometers on a full tank, and this is not a large fuel tank as well. If I'm not mistaken, this is about 47 liters or something, so it's actually less than 50 liters of fuel. So that's pretty amazing if you think about the fact that, you know, I haven't really heard of the last time a car could do more than 1,000 kilometers on one tank in Singapore. You know, we're not even talking about Malaysia driving. This is purely Singapore. We went through traffic jams, we went through peak hour traffic, we went through slow traffic, fast traffic, all sorts of traffic, and even then we could achieve those figures. So I think that's really, really admirable. And I guess to my last point, moving on to my last point, I think the Corolla Cross Hybrid is going to be a really important car for, you know, I don't know about other countries, but I think in Singapore especially it's going to be a pretty important car because it satisfies so many things that people have perhaps found lacking in the Toyota range of cars for some time. First thing is, obviously the Corolla brand or the Corolla model range has been like sort of like a legend, like it has achieved legendary status, you know, it's been around for so long. And at the same time, sedans have sort of been, you know, decreasing in popularity because people want that active, outgoing lifestyle, or whether they want a better vantage point from an SUV, I'm not so sure, but SUVs have become incredibly popular over the years. And when you combine those two, the Corolla brand and an SUV format that is still extremely fuel efficient, you can imagine how that really does satisfy the needs of the consumers, which I think is very, very cool and very, very well done. The second thing is that with Japanese brands like Toyota, for example, I think the methodology in drivetrains has, you know, up until recently has always been to use a fairly large engine, which, you know, I'm generally not fond of. I like smaller turbocharged engines, but in any case, up until now, if you were to look for SUV models like the Harrier or the RAV4, those are all 2.4 liters, and granted, yes, they are bigger cars, but they are bigger in a way that one might argue you don't really require in Singapore. So the Corolla Cross comes in at a really nice bracket where it gives you just enough size, just enough style, and it runs a much more efficient 2-liter hybrid model, which of course gives you more economy, but at the same time also means that you pay less road tax, which I think is probably something that the more financially conscious consumers might really be interested in. So I think all in all, I'm going to say that the Corolla Cross is one of those real stars of the last year in terms of new car models, because, you know, on the exterior and on the surface it just looks like another Toyota SUV, right? But it's really not, because you've got something that rides on the legendary branding of the Corolla, the same platform, but now put into a format that is much more desirable to the younger crowd, to the contemporary crowd. It's super fuel efficient, and it allows you to still engage in that SUV life, even if you are not willing to go as large as a Harrier or a RAV4. So it's a brilliantly packaged car if you think about it. And I think for anybody who's ever felt like, you know, oh, I don't want to drive the Corolla because I feel like that's quite an uncle car, the Corolla Cross is actually going to do a lot for its branding, and I think contemporary younger consumers are going to find that the Corolla Cross might actually fit, tickle their fancy, so to speak. So in any case, you really have to drive the car to kind of find out. So, you know, if you are interested, please go down to Body Motors, go and try out the car. As usual, if you have enjoyed this review or have found it useful, We would greatly appreciate it if you gave the video a like and you subscribe to the channel, because we've got new car reviews coming out every single week, constantly. We're testing cars every single week, sometimes more than one car a week, and it would be really great if you could join us for those as well. So please subscribe to the channel and keep yourself notified. If not, please take care of yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.